Hi everyone, this is Norman Kochnick here for Eyes on Cricket with Norman Kochnick. I'm also to be joined by Aparna Saini, and we may have other guests coming on at this stage. This is an earlier show. The latest show will in fact be with Kuntal Chakraborty from ABP News, ABP Live, ABP Hindi. He will be on later. Now he is prominent on the 29 plus million subscriber platform of ABP News. We'll be talking both cricket and Olympics, but this show today will be earlier on, and it'll be specifically around the England squad announcement that's just been announced, which I know some channels have already been talking about, the India-Sri Lanka series that's going on as we speak. Also, undoubtedly, will have a lot to do with the Olympics as well. And I have an announcement, which I think some may already know, that of course, Australia had the 1956 Olympics. I wasn't alive then, and that was actually in Melbourne, Victoria in Australia. That's Melbourne, Australia. It was the 1956 Melbourne Games, which was a fantastic thing for Australia, no doubt. But that was well and truly outdone by the 2000 Sydney Olympics, which I had a lot to do with. I was actually one of the a major role, you could argue, with a group called SOCOG, the Sydney Olympic Committee of the Olympic Games, Sydney Organising Committee of the Olympic Games, SOCOG, and I was the language services manager for the Olympics at the main stadium, the athletic stadium, the athletic events and opening and closing ceremonies and the like, and then also at the Superdome, which had the basketball and gymnastics. So I had quite a bit involved, and I was very lucky. So that was specifically for that. I was just having to make sure I'm just going online here. Now, in regards to, we have another show which will be on later today, which is on at 11 o'clock, you may have seen. That's, as I think I told you, Sonu Backpacker. Hello, sir. Hello. How are you? Rapakshi Sharma's there as well. I know Rapakshi very well. So Aparna will be here shortly. So the program will be about, there's some very important updates. I've seen Buri Majumdar and Anivala Anivala is actually from, he's based in Extra Time with Grey Mind Communications with Aparna Saini, who's been on the show. We're doing a show with him soon too, actually doing one about the people that he's met from Usain Bolt right through. So KL Rahul, we're talking about first test. We'll talk about that a bit later. But Archer missed 2 tests, so we're going to talk about all of that very shortly, about that relationship. But yeah, so that show will be online. So Anilava and Buri Majumdar are both in Tokyo for the 2020 Olympics, which really is 2021, starting this Friday, the 23rd of July, right through to the 8th of August. And in the further 11 years, it'll be 11 years later, it'll be in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia, which having had experience. So yeah, 1956 was in Melbourne, 2000 was in Sydney, and 2032 will be in Brisbane, so quite a few. And I'm going to be talking on Sri Lanka versus India right now. Can't wish for games just a few days, yes. Okay, so let's talk about Sri Lanka versus India specifically. Now, you've got to admit, Sri Lanka had certainly done a pretty damn good job. They certainly made it a bit more difficult for India this time. India came through. Sri Lanka were 9 for 275 after their 50 overs, which is quite an admirable effort. But in 49.1 overs, India scored 7 for 277 with the man of the match, Deepak Chahar, who was batting at number 8, the first man to go past 50. Brilliant effort, and Virat Kohli was very happy. What do you think about the India should do for first, batting or bowling? Are you talking about today? Well, in the next game, you're talking about? I don't think first of all, Sri Lanka's won the toss in both matches, and Sri Lanka won the toss and elected to bat. And if it were to happen, I don't think there's any problem with India batting second. I think they can cruise past any Sri Lankan score. But for the sake of austerity, maybe India should bat first when they win the toss, and hence hit as big a score as they can. They're capable of getting 350 plus against the Sri Lankan side, and then showing their ability to defend. So that would be probably my thoughts on that. Last night was just awesome. Both matches are nail-biting. India versus Sri Lanka and Pakistan versus England. Absolutely. I'm very lucky because Harris Ralph, who was one of the fast bowlers in the early matches for Pakistan, and Usman Khadir have both been in Sydney in my teams, play with me locally, great friends of mine. So we'll talk about Sharia, the best sports for this edition of Olympics here in Australia. Now, clearly Australia, we'll talk about it more later. There's a full show coming on at 1 o'clock my time, which is 8:30 p.m. your time, later on with Kuntal Chakraborty. So we'll talk about it more there. But definitely, India have a lot of possibility with hockey, shooting, certain wrestling and weightlifting events, and certainly Australia has a multitude of events, including swimming as one of their major ones. Birami Irani, Brisbane to hold oh, what a shock. I didn't know. Of course I knew about that. I watched the damn thing. But I'm a little bit underwhelmed, to be honest with you. Brisbane holding. It's great for Australia, great for Queensland. But we've had probably two of the best Olympics already in Australia. That is the Sydney Olympics in 2000, which I think Birami you may not have heard, but I was the language services manager for that. For both the main stadium, which is where the athletics was in 2000, and also the gymnastics and the basketball was in the Superdome. I was a language manager for both, so I had a great role. The reality is that the 2000 Sydney Olympics was the best ever and will not be topped. It was beyond belief. Melbourne was very romantic for us because it was our first. So Brisbane's got a lot to look up to or to actually strive for, but they probably won't reach that mark, but they'll be still hopefully a very good Olympics. That's 2032. That's a long way away. Has England announced their side? They certainly have. That's for the test series. So we'll go back and forth. I'm waiting for a few people to come on. Yes, the actual England test series squad of 17 has been announced. No, I wouldn't say there were too many shocks there, if I'm being honest with you. I'll have a look. Just have a look here. I'm just going to get that up for you now. There's been a fair bit written about that already, but I'll just go through it for you. I'll actually read out the team, the squad for you. Nicky R was not mad, angry with Sri Lanka week finishing. I agree. Sri Lanka's are just too good in ODIs compared to Wendy's. SRI Lanka, the reality is that they are good, but that's ODI. We haven't got an ODI T20, sorry, ODI World Cup this year. We've got a T20 World Cup, and they were smashed by the West Indies 4-1. So that's where it really counts. So the press release, Chris Silverwood, who was the coach, now really effectively the selector as well. That's been Ashley Giles has actually given Chris Silverwood and the captain Joe Root the opportunity to actually select the squad. Now, he has named his squad for the opening two LV insurance tests against India. Now, this is for the first two tests. The first one starting at Trent Bridge on Wednesday, the 4th of August, which is under 2 weeks away. The 17-man squad. Now, they've got Joe Root from Yorkshire as captain, James Anderson from Lancashire, Johnny Bairstow from Yorkshire. So that's interesting whether he will play in that 11. Dom Bess from Yorkshire, Stuart Broad, Nottinghamshire, Rory Burns from Surrey, Josh Butler from Lancashire, Zach Crawley from Kent, Sam Curran from Surrey, Hasib Hamid from Nottinghamshire as a squad, which is a great selection. Dan Lawrence from Essex, Jack Leach from Somerset, Ollie Pope from Surrey, Ollie Robinson, who was the person in that conjecture with that tweet or Instagram post, whatever it was, who had to say sorry and was given a bit of a punishment, but he's now back. Ollie Robinson, Dom Sibley from Warwickshire, Ben Stokes from Durham, and Mark Wood from Durham. So effectively, that's the squad. I'll repeat it again. Really, if you go by the last test they played against New Zealand, Rory Burns and Sibley, as in Dom Sibley, were the openers. Zach Crawley was first dropped. Then you had Joe Root at 4. Then you had 5. You had Ollie Pope and Ben Stokes probably at 6. Interesting enough, I'm not seeing Ben. Was it Ben Crawley? Ben. What's the name of Ben's? Where is Munchie and Richard Vernon for me to help me? But with Crawley, we had the other the out and out keeper who was not in that squad, which I'm a bit shocked at actually. So that means either Josh Butler or Bairstow will make the squad. So I'm just curious as to what's happened to Ben Folkes. Ben Folkes. Well, where's Ben Folkes? No, Ben Folkes. That's rather a bit of a shock. I'm not sure what the story is with Ben Folkes. So effectively, Stokes, okay, we've got all-rounder Ben Stokes returns to the Test squad after he missed the 2 matches against New Zealand because of a finger injury. Also, we have Josh Buttler out. Sorry, Josh Buttler in, Johnny Bairstow in, and Sam Curran also back in the Test squad. Ollie Robinson included. And Jofra Archer and Chris Wokes are both out. Jofra Archer has a bruised heel. Sorry, that's Chris Wokes has the bruised heel. Jofra Archer has the right elbow, chronic as it is. There's no mention of Ben Folkes anywhere, and I'm a bit shocked at what's going on with Ben Folkes. I had the impression that he was to be expected as the test keeper. So the reality is that you'd have to think that Rory Burns assembly will continue open at least for the first 2 tests, either in the squad of 17. So you'll have Zach Crawley with Root, Ollie Pope, Ben Stokes, either Butler or Bairstow. It'll be interesting how they go. They could even put Bairstow in the open. We don't know. Bairstow, Butler. Then the bowling would be Anderson, probably Broad, with Mark Wood, and possibly one of the spinners, Leach, or best, probably more Leach. That would be my 11. That means we're leaving out Ollie Robinson at this point, Dan Lawrence. So Ollie Robinson, Dan Lawrence would be out. That makes 2. Hasib Hamid would be a 3. And then we'll have either Bairstow, probably 4. John Best is 5. So that's 5 out of this one player more that I'm missing out. I'm not sure. Probably, well, Sam Curran, where do we put him in the side? They're a bit stacked up for players. I think you probably won't see Sam Curran in the first Test match. So yeah, effectively that's my 11. And what's your 11? Do you agree with me? Folkes is long-term injury, missed all the summer. So he's out. Okay, so Ben Folkes is definitely out long-term. I didn't know that. I thought he might have been ready for this. And it's to me a bit of a shock not being there. Robinson must be there. Well, okay, AP Gunner reckons Robinson must be there. Well, all right, that's going to be interesting how that's possible. But Folkes is injured, how okay. So Wokes is injured, we know. So again, I want you guys to put, not just here in the live chat, but tell me who you think the 11 is. I mean, realistically, that's what the England 11 will probably be. They may not change Sibley out of the opening position just yet, but he would open with, as I said, so it would be Sibley with the likes of, I would say Sibley with Rory Burns, Zach Crawley first drop, second drop would be Brute, third drop would probably be Ollie Pope, not Dan Lawrence. And then you would have Ben Stokes coming in, then either Butler or Bairstow, depending on how they're going to go about those 2. Then you'd have the 3 bowlers and the spinner. 3 bowlers being Broad, Anderson and Mark Wood, with Jack Leach being the spinner. Is that what your 11 is? That's my 11 at this point. But they've got plenty of players to pick from. So who do you think will win the series and how many matches? So I've still said to this point that I think it'll be 3-2 to India out of the 5 tests. That's my thoughts. Manu John says, Mickey, I mentioned before, it would blow his head off if Sri Lanka loses 3-0. Well, they've lost 2-0, haven't they, so far? So they're going to continue to lose, I'm afraid. Even though they did put a very good account for themselves in the second match, absolutely. But I can't say they're winning. I mean, that was an Indian stumble slightly effort. So, yeah, at this point in time, I would argue that Aparna, where's Aparna? Aparna's meant to be joining us. I'm not sure where she is. And as I said, after the show at 1 a.m. my time, which is 8:30 p.m. Indian time and some 4 p.m. England time, we will have a full-blown discussion with Kuntal Chakraborty, and he will be talking to us about the Olympics as well as other things. So yeah, Brisbane won the Olympics now. I had to have a bit of an irony there when I saw them clapping and they couldn't touch each other because of COVID, and they're elbowing each other and pretend excitement. It almost tells the mood of Australia. We're not really jumping out of our skin because we won the Olympics for Australia, because it's in Brisbane, and albeit it's Australia, it's not the highlight location. It's not our showcase point. I would argue the Gold Coast, which is only 40 kilometres down the road, an hour down the road, is probably more of a place, but it's not centred there. It's centred in Brisbane, which the infrastructure there, they have a ground called the Gabba, which we know of as the Gabba cricket ground. It holds around the 40,000 mark, if that. Barely makes it, more like 35. And how they're going to turn that into an 80,000-seater stadium, I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. So Ben Folkes is definitely okay. Okay. So yeah, Bannister Boy saying Burns, Sibley, Crawley, Root, Stokes, Pope, Bairstow, Lawrence. Well, you can't have all three. I would argue it's probably going to be Pope out of those three. Bairstow should be, really. Robinson, Broad, Leach, Anderson. So you had Robinson as opposed to Wood in the first test. Okay. So England is going full squad against India. Their resting policy backfired them. They lost home series against New Zealand and also against India. Yeah, that's pretty true. I'm sure Anderson and Broad will play as much as they possibly can in this test series together. And Mark Wood will alternate with Ollie Robinson, you would imagine. Chris Wokes is out at least for the first two matches. Ben Folkes, we've had explained, is also injured. He would have been a selection probably ahead of a few of those. Interesting whether they will play both Johnny Bairstow and the likes of Butler. It doesn't look like they're going to do that, but that's what they could do. And if they were to do that, they could easily have Burns open the batting with Bairstow and have them Crawley, Root, Stokes, and then Butler. I would argue, okay, so we have Burns, Bairstow, Crawley, Root, Stokes, Pope, Butler. That would be my, if I'm really honest with you, that's what I would really think should happen. But I don't think they're going to go away from Burns and Sibley, Crawley as the top three, Root 4, Stokes and Pope. And I think Butler, better keeper probably. Robinson, no, I'm still thinking Wood, Broad, Anderson, Leach. But that's what Bannister Boy thinks. So we'll go by that. England can still win a series without Archer and Wokes. Oh, definitely. The number 6 slot is one of Pope, Bairstow or Lawrence. That's if Sibley continues to open. India would be better off some big names injured and new guys come in. Well, that's possibly the case for Ramarani, but the reality is that I think India will also stick to their World Test Championship team, to be honest. I think ECB listened to Shane Warne because he wanted Bairstow, which is worrying. Why is it worrying? Well, it's a pretty sound decision, if you ask me. I think Bairstow can really be the one to do well. Could be a threat for India. His performance against New Zealand was pretty good. It certainly was. But then does that mean Wood misses out? That's the question. So, yeah, okay. So I want to have that written down, if you don't mind, guys. I want you to write down that so-called squad. I want it to be written down because I think the fact is that Chris Silverwood, he's become not only a selector, but he's also become he's the coach, but he's also the selector, which is a very, very a highly laden responsibility, if you ask me, that he probably doesn't necessarily want. Do you guys look at my community post? Because if you do, you would see a lot of the stuff that I'm writing is already there. Because we've got Ben Stokes and Mark Wood. So yeah, these press releases actually come from the ECB that I get, which is very fortunate. Very happy about that. They're a great bunch they provide me with some very good content. You look at the way that the whole. So all-rounder Ben Stokes is probably one of the major beneficiaries of this whole situation. Let's be honest. I mean, interesting how England have announced it so early. I guess they thought Bairstow was really poor in the test, but his capability is great. Will Panth be healthy before start of test, sir? Will Panth, or you mean punt without the H? Well, at this point, I don't think it's a matter of him not being healthy, to be honest with you. I think he's very healthy. I think it's more of just having to get through the COVID controls that they have on him. It's not really, he's not unwell as far as I'm concerned. He's just simply under quarantine, and he would be ready to go from ball one, you would imagine, I would argue. So, yeah, so all-rounder Ben Stokes. Let's look further. We go. Archer continues to be a problem for this group. So I'll just read you what Chris Silverwood said. To me, that's where we get into the interesting stuff, because Chris Silverwood, of course, is now the so-called selector and coach, and he will have a lot to say. I'm just trying to. So I'll just read what you what Silverwood had to say, if you like, just quickly. So we had. Okay, so Silverwood said the following. A home test series against India is one of the most anticipated red ball series, and this promises to be an outstanding 5 tests. And it is 5, don't forget. It's not 3 or 4. It's actually 5. India are a quality team who have shown their ability to get results away from home, hence Australia. We are expecting a highly competitive series and have selected our strongest possible squad, as you would hope. The returns of all-rounders Ben Stokes and Sam Curran provides balance that allows us to get back to a structure that's been successful in Test cricket. So what they lacked against New Zealand. Ben's leadership is in the Royal London series when he played, despite his finger not yet being 100%, typified his character and commitment that drives the players around him forward. With Josh and Johnny back in the squad, we have added further experience and the quality that will be needed against the world's second-ranked team. Well, they're saying New Zealand's number 1. The England Test squad will report to Loughborough on Wednesday, the 20th of July, ahead of the first test starting at Trent Bridge on Wednesday, the 4th of August. Okay, so looking at that, just making sure I've got it all written down there. Yep. So effectively, the test series, if you didn't know already, we'll go through it for you. First test, England versus India, is on the 4th to the 8th of August, 2021, at Trent Bridge, Nottingham. Great ground. I love the ground. Then the second test is again England versus India from the 12th of August to the 16th. So there's only 3 or 4 days between the 2 matches, and that's at the home of cricket, Lords. Great first and second test. Third test, England versus India again, 25th of August to the 29th. So it's a good week and a bit more break. And then it'll be Emerald, Headingley, Leeds. Emerald, Headingley, I'm guessing that's Headingley's sponsored by Emerald, I'm not sure. Then the 4th test is again Kia Oval, London, Surrey's home ground, from the 2nd to the 6th September. And then the 10th to the 14th September at Emirates Old Trafford, Manchester, back up there. So that's quite a series indeed. And I think there's a lot to be taken from that. A lot indeed to be taken from that. I think we're in for a bottle of a series, that's for sure. So, yeah, we'll go. I want you to. So, any tip for. Then we'll hit pro. Don't put question mark. I'm talking in the middle of this. Don't think that I'm, not rushing on answering questions. Give me a chance, for God's sake. Any tip for Prithvi Shaw to play a little carefully in terms of spinners? I don't know whether it's a matter of tips for Prithvi Shaw. He opens the batting and only fast faces the pace and has bowled. That is sensationally, and really will be pressing for selection in the T20 World Cup and in any format. He's going to, if Shubman Gill doesn't start performing and Agarwal, Prithvi Shaw is going to be right back in that test squad. Don't you worry. He will be eventually a test player. At some stage over the next few years, he will become a regular part of that test side. Well, there is a lot of COVID around, but cool data. Don't you worry about the crowds. The most important thing is the match goes ahead. Let's be honest, and you can watch it on TV. So AP Gunner reckons Burns, Sibley, Crawley, Root, Stokes, Butler, Pope. Hang on, there's one too many there. Maybe okay, all right. Best, Robinson, Broad, Anderson. So you're going for Best over Leach, and you're putting Robinson over Wood. Interesting. Oh, you're a big fan of mine. Thank you. I appreciate that. What are your thoughts on Best inclusion? Look, I think he didn't do very well in India. He came in right in the middle there, and he was like a deer in front of headlights. He had very little chance against Aksa Patel and the like when he batted. Got out very cheaply, very quickly, which is very sad. At best, though, has scored well. I mean, I don't know what his test record was offhand, but he is not a shady batsman. He has played for England and done admirably well on many occasions. So let's have a look at Bairstow's. Johnny Bairstow is not any. I mean, he's very good in the short format. We know that. But Johnny Bairstow, I've got a little time for me. Why is it put Hairston? Who's that? Bairstow, I've got a lot of time for him, actually. Let's just quick look at his record. Wasn't it? Okay, Johnny Bairstow, who's born in 1989, so he actually had a father. I think it was his dad was David Bairstow, if I'm not wrong. So Johnny Bairstow. Let's have a look at his record here. Okay, we got. So Aparna, are you here? I can see at the back. Okay, come on. So Johnny Bairstow's record. He has got quite a record. Let's have a look. He's played. Johnny Bairstow has played 74 tests for England. Nothing to be sneezed at. It's always fashionable to be late when you're a woman. Is that what I'm trying to? Is what you're trying to prove?
I think so.
A bit louder. Put your volume up.
Yeah.
Perfect. Aparna Saini, as we all know, she's been a mainstay of the channel since its inception. Has her own channel, which is actually co-hosting today, if she was on time. The Aparna Saini Cricket Conversation with Aparna Saini, which has 3,000 plus subscribers. Yeah. We need you to be on there as well. For some of you new people, need to go on there. That's Cricket Conversations with Aparna Saini. Welcome, Aparna.
Conversation.
I said that.
Can you hear
me? We're talking about Johnny Bairstow at the moment. Now, Johnny Bairstow has been selected in the 17 for the England squad. Now, he has played 74 tests. People think that he shouldn't be in the side. He's played 74 tests. He scored 6 centuries, 21 50s. He scored over 4,000 test runs at a batting average of 34. He's well worthy of being in there. He's had 186 catches with 13 stumping, so he's had almost 199 dismissals go his way. He's certainly a man of quality in terms of his test cricket. He's played more tests than T20s and almost equal to his ODI numbers. So the man's worthy of being there. So in the squad, Aparna, have you got that up there somewhere? Have you found that? Okay. I was just saying that, and Mansfield Boy's on. He would have come on air, but he's not 100%. So they've got 17 in the squad. They've announced it about 2 weeks early. Ben Stokes is back. Sam Curran's back. Johnny Bairstow and Stokes, and who else is the person? Butler is back as well. Jofra Archer's still got his elbow problem and probably won't play. Chris Wokes has also got a bruised heel, who's out as well. But there's still got a lot of depth there. So the 11, have you looked at the team? Have you had a thought about the 11? You have? Did you want to go first or want me to go first?
No, you go first.
Okay. Well, I'll repeat it. Rory Burns and Dom Sibley were the openers for the series recently, and they both did okay in part. Zach Crawley was probably the most disappointing, but deserves another go, especially in light of the Ashes. Second drop would be Root. Now, there's conjecture what happens next, but I would argue Stokes is there for sure, whether he bats at that position, that'll be number 5. Then you'll have Ollie Pope, between Ollie Pope, Lawrence, and perhaps Bairstow. Out of those 3, I'm saying Ollie Pope. That leaves Bairstow and Lawrence out. Bairstow could still go in front of Sibley, but we'll wait to see. Then you've got the keeper, Ben Folkes is injured, so he's out. Butler will keep. Then you'll have Broad and Anderson, the bowlers, I'm saying Wood with Jack Leach, but other people are saying Ollie Robinson instead of Wood, and they're saying Best instead of Leach. What's your thoughts?
I'll go with Burns, and Root Strokes would be definitely there. Archer, I think.
Archer, no. Jofra Archer's, he's injured.
He's injured? Wait,
yeah,
there's still time?
No, there's not. He's out. He's got No, he can't be time because the 17's been selected. For the first 2 matches, he can't play. He's not in the squad. He's injured his elbow. It's chronic. He's had surgery on it, I believe, and he's out for an indefinite period of time. He may be back for the Ashes, so really he's out, pretty much out of these 5 tests. He's out of the first 2 and likely to be the 5. So Jofra Archer's out.
Yeah, well, no, but the rest of the one that I'll agree with you, Norman. I think they're the best pick.
All right. But we've got
the
some
one's
concerns
injured,
about...
We can't do anything about that, but he was great.
No. Yeah. So Chris Wokes is not there. Chris Wokes is injured. He probably would have been in the mix as well as a bowler. But Broad and Anderson... Okay. Does anyone out there think they're going to leave Broad and Anderson separate? Are they going to not have them both play? Because I think they will. Saman Awashi says hello to you.
Hey.
Bit more beauty in the channel. What do you mean? I've been beautiful all along, Dan said, but what are you talking about? So don't jump between categories, guys. We're going to stick to the test group for a moment. We'll talk about Sri Lanka, India a bit more in a minute. India had a bit of a scare, but they still beat Sri Lanka quite reasonably.
Nail-biting match.
Yeah, Mitchell Marsh. Okay, he played well in this series at the moment. He's playing quite well, but when Sonos and Warner and the like come back, he might have a place. Okay, so
Robinson might be, makes his fifth return for his test squad.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
so he's a good pick. I mean, he's good at.
Oh yeah, for sure. West Indies, they won the matches at count. They beat Australia 4-1 in the T20 matches. That's what's important at the moment because they've got a T20 World Cup. The ODIs have taken the foot off the pedal. They're not really too worried about that because these matches, although they're still matches against another country, they both don't want to. They're not putting their foot on the pedal, and Australia smashed them in this match that's just gone by. But it's not indicative of anything. Who cares? Because at the moment the ODIs, there's no World Cup for the ODIs, so there's no. They don't really care. West Indies, when they put the foot off the pedal when they want to, and put the foot on the pedal when they want to, and the T20 they're serious. They're ready to get stuck in there, whoever's going to come in front of them. But ODIs, why bother? They're not playing.
Why would bother? Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. Okay, let's have a look here. Broad and Anderson both will play. I agree. I think both. AP Gunner reckons both will play. John Kinnair. Okay, we'll go back to them. Deepak Chahar's batting ability has left India another good option for number 8. A good headache to have, though, but a tough decision. Look, Chahar shocked me. He got the highest. We got the highest score of a 50 at number 8, and he won the match too. He was a match winner, and he batted well. And I think that's the highest score of a number 8 batsman. I don't know if ever, but for an indefinite period of time, brilliant.
Yeah, well, he took two wickets and 69 runs. He's always talked about his bowling, but never about batting. Yeah. I think he should start talking about his batting now.
Well, we're going to an all-rounder.
Yeah, Rahul Dravid was the motivation.
Absolutely. The question about Josh Philippe and Ben McDermott. Now, Ben McDermott's dad was Craig McDermott, so he's got pedigree. He's not a bad middle-order batsman. In fact, he played one match pretty well against India in a warm-up match at the SCG earlier this year, and with the pink ball. Not a bad player, but probably not quite there yet. Josh Philippe, I rate him very highly. Matthew Wade, I don't. Matthew Wade should be dropped. He is gone. He was dropped from the Test series. He should be dropped from all formats. And Josh Philippe should be the player in his place. I would have thought he would keep, but Alex Carey, who captained the match last night, or in fact this morning, was keeping and captain. Interesting how they brought a man outside of the team into the side and be captain. Interesting. Okay. I'm watching India versus the so-called County Select 11, and Hamid is batting well. I think he will play, and he's getting the best preparation possible playing as India. What do you think? Have you seen that play? If you go to YouTube to Durham Cricket, it's live there. And this Hamid is playing. He looks the goods. He's a very good opening bat. Whether he's going to play in this Test series, maybe later on. If Sibley fails, you might see him in there.
Oh, he might be a new ad.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. You think Hamid's very unlikely to play Bannister Boy? Well, at the moment he is. They won't go from at the moment. But why? He's in the squad of 17. You can't say he's unlikely to play. He's got every chance to play. If you pick him the 17, that means he's a replacement opening batter for either probably Sibley. But of course, Bairstow's probably in front of him. You rate Carey is also vice captain early. Well, Matthew Wade's disturbing the whole thing. Matthew Wade thinks he should be, and I think he should be out and allow Carey to flourish. And Josh Philippe's also there as well. Alex Carey's probably going to be groomed for the replacement keeper position for Tim Payne at Test level down the track, which could mean he may be captain. Maybe that's what they're thinking. Yeah, I would agree with Sumana Awashi. I think that Hamid's in with a good chance. Nalakshi Sharma's joined us. Chahar improved his batting skills when he wasn't selected in the ODI T20. Yeah, so Nalakshi Sharma's saying that because of the ODI and T20 series not being selected, he's decided to improve his batting. He's shown that really well. And you see, this is great comments here. Bakul Dana says, Deepak, Chahar, Shardul, Sundar, Pandya, Jadeja, 5 was an Indian team that can all win a match for India with the bat now. It's true. They've got some gun players there. If India don't win the T20 World Cup, they're going to be severely disappointed. They really are the out-and-out best side. They've got so much depth. They've got to get their, what's the word for it? Their makeup, their so-called team run sheet sorted and can stick to it. Let them get a groove going. Hold on, I saw Kerry's rubbish. I still don't think he's. No, I didn't say that. I didn't say Kerry's a definite. I would prefer him not to be there. I prefer Josh Philippe. Kerry isn't in great form, but all of a sudden they put him as captain. So I'm saying what the Australian selectors are saying. They're obviously grooming him to be captain at some stage in other formats. And if Tim Payne is out, that means Kerry might be in there. But I still think Aaron Finch is the captain. He was injured. That's why he didn't play. Okay. Don't get me cranky, Bannister boy. The fact is that Alice Carey is below Aaron Finch in the pecking order as captaincy, and Tim Payne is still the captain and keeper. So Carey's second to that. Matthew Wade's out. Josh Philippe, I think, really should be the one, but not on the long format, the short format. Your opinion? Can we see more of unorthodox shots from Rishabh Pant in the England series? He's such a great player. I really think he's a great player.
Was he recovering from COVID?
Well, he didn't actually have COVID. There's word that he didn't have it severely and that he was just more being quarantined rather than having it. He didn't have it severe. No, if he was truly, in deep trouble with his COVID, he wouldn't even be in the squad. He wouldn't even be on the tour. He'd be in hospital. So no, I don't think it's serious at all. I think it's rather mild. And he's in quarantine effectively. And Ridham and Saha second time in quarantine, which is hilarious. AP Gunn says, I agree with him replacing Payne. Who's him? Yeah, it was asymptomatic. That's right. Ajujanka. Yes, that's right. Yeah, but you're right. Punt does have to be where all batsmen have to be wary of the moving ball. But the reality is, Punt he counteracts and adjusts very quickly. So, Aparna, what's your take at this early stage on the Test series? With 5 Test matches.
England's team, I think they, they've been good so far. I have no prediction so far for England team. I'm not sure, but yeah, Indian side looks pretty strong, and we can do without Rishabh Pant. Whoever is running, Pant has to be more careful in England against the moving ball.
Okay. But do you think India will win the Test series? Or
for sure. I think they should be able to. Their side is still strong, and fingers crossed.
I've said 3-2. I've said 3-2. Banstead boy is saying I said 7-0. That's not true.
I think 3-2. Yeah, would be, or it could be a draw. Because
that's what Banstead boy reckons. There'll be a draw and it'll be 2-1, leading into the last match. 2-1 to England with a draw, leading to the last match to decide. Okay, Munchie's joined us. Watching for a few minutes in between meetings. I agree, Shuman Ashwati. I'd have Hamid in before Sibley. I would think that's true too. Banstead boy has no clue. He can't even count. I never said 7-0, so might have him. India. Oh, wait a minute. Nilakshi Sharma's sticking her neck out as we chopped off there. 5-0. That's if India win 5-0 against England, that'll cause the biggest stir ever. It'll be huge. Absolutely huge. And Ball's got to shoot. So sorry, I hope you're not going to shoot somebody, Munchie. I hope you're just leaving.
I mean, England and Pakistan were playing, and Pakistan was it's always been a strong team, but England came good. I mean, that have you watched that match?
Yeah, of course. Because the first match had Harris Ralph. Remember those 4 Pakistani boys that came to Sydney? I told you they were with Shapali and that they played. Well, one was Harris Ralph, who's playing for Pakistan. The second one was Usman Khadir, who played for Pakistan last night. Pretty cool, eh? Having had a Sydney stick. Like, who have you met? You've met Rebecca Van Dorten. Did we not go one night, a part of you, me, Van Dort, and Punny down to that Sri Lankan place in Glebe? We met a guy there, Usman Khadir. Remember? Pretty sure we did.
It wasn't me, I think.
I'm sure it was you were there. Okay, Test series should be cancelled. The situation very bad in the UK. A lack of prevention measures will make the things worse. Well, Gareth Banker, this sport, they're going on with the Olympics, for God's sake. They got a truckload of journalists there, including Buri Majumdar and Anulava, who's with Devashis. So they're doing that. There's no reason why they can. And most of the England population are covered by 2 vaccines, aren't they? I think they've got up to 80%. Yeah, I thought Pakistan did play very well in the T20 series. And they're not too bad in the ODI series. Pakistan are pretty good.
But yeah,
what are you saying?
Like, blanked Pakistan with 3-0 in the ODIs. I mean, that was. I'm not sure about the ODI if they performed very well, but T20, I mean, that's something that we have to say because the World Cup is coming up, and even though there's a lot of scope for Pakistan to, they've always been a strong team, but there's a lot of scope for them to, come up with before there's going to be a match between India and Pakistan, which I think everyone's got their eyes on. But a little more, meat in the batting lineup, and that would make up for good recipe for the upcoming World Cup T20 for them.
Absolutely. And I've got some of the so-called Barmy Army Aparna. A guy called David Guinness Speak. He's one of the second in charge actually. Banstead boy and Munchie will know him as well. So he's going to be joining us. We're going to have the whole Barmy Army. That's going to be crazy, isn't it? We'll get the Barmy Army, we'll get the Bharat Army people, and we'll have them fighting us. Not fighting, but UK has removed all COVID restrictions. Very irresponsible when new cases are being recorded. Who said that? Well, but if they've got high vaccination rates, then the issue is less and less. So you are the expert here. Okay, Banstead boy and Gareth Bankers, get off your high horses. Yeah, we have issues. The fact is, England have got high rates of COVID, yes, but they're quarantined. Not quarantined, they're vaccinated. Australia has 100, but we've got nobody bloody vaccinated. Did you get your vaccination yet, Aparna?
Not yet. You haven't told me the trick to go to the airport.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. Shh.
Yes, we did.
I didn't say that.
All right, censored.
You're announcing that to the whole world that I'm doing the wrong thing. That's really not nice.
Well, give it a call to know.
I did the right thing. I lined up like everybody else. I didn't cheat, right?
But you did the right thing. You haven't told me yet. So you haven't done anything.
Okay. I jumped the queue a bit, yes. But I got my first Pfizer shot. I'm waiting for my second August 10th. All right.
Well, guys, Norman could be lying about this because he is just trying to pretend that he's below 40, which he's not.
That's right, because
so
I'm too young.
Anyone who's above 40 can get it.
I'm too young. So I'm 39 3/4 recurring. And if that's the case, Aparna's 3 years old.
Being 40.
Aparna's okay. So Singapore now, Gareth Banker is talking. Gareth Banker, you were in Singapore because Irani's from Singapore. He's online somewhere. I agree with Arjun Shankar now. I think the West Indies are a smoky for the World Cup. India and England are expected to, but I think that West Indies are a real threat, and maybe even Pakistan. Australia, not the T20 format. They've got real problems. So is South Africa. Bangladesh won't get there. Sri Lanka's got no hope. It's going to be England, India, with West Indies and perhaps Pakistan as a smoking, maybe New Zealand. Thank you, Nalakshi. See, Nalakshi's at least, I learned from Nalakshi, she's being polite. She's saying that I look 31. Nalakshi, do you need glasses?
No, you look 16, Norman. There's no doubt.
With this grey beard, I look 100 years old. Okay, all right. So, Banster Boy and Munchie and others. Banster Boy and Munchie and others. Do we think Sam Curran should be in the 11? Because Ben Stokes is there. Is Sam Curran the deputy to Ben Stokes? Is that what we're saying? What do you think? I'm going to look at the... I'd like to see Sam Curran in the same time as Ben Stokes, to be honest. But yeah, look, Josh, let's just go through it. Bairstow, 74 test matches, 74, and he scored 6 centuries. Why isn't he in the side? You know, they should be putting him as a priority over anyone else, if you ask me. And then you got, who's the other one? We've got Hasib Hamid. Oh, my God. Hasib Hamid looks about 12 in the photograph, but he's 24. He certainly is. He's actually played 3 test matches and scored 250. So he's already reached the highest level, which is very impressive. Just trying to look at can you see what the story is with trying to find in the stats. I'm trying to find about Butler, because Butler's played a few test matches as well. Yeah, if Johnny Bairstow's played 74 test matches, scored 6 centuries, batting average is pretty high, and he's only a year older than Josh Butler. And Josh Butler's performances are, Josh Butler's played some 50 test matches. He scored 2 centuries at about, they're almost similar batting averages as well. He's played a hell of a lot more ODI matches than Bairstow. But so yeah, Bairstow's played 74 test matches and Butler scored 50. Sorry, played 50. So Curran or Robinson at 8. So you're saying now, Bairstow boy, you wouldn't have Wood and you would have Robinson or Curran. I'd like to see Sam Curran play with Bairstow, not Bairstow, with Stokes in the same side. That would be something. So, report BCCI not asking for bubbles and no crowd. Well, I'm not asking for it. Well, if everybody's vaccinated to the point of 80% or above, I think it's 88%, then there is no requirement for any of that. Okay. Bairstow averaged 8 and over his last 2 years in tests, hence he was dropped. Okay. All right. So he's been dropped, but he's in the 17. So he must be back in favour with what's going on. Otherwise, he wouldn't be in that position. All right, Aparna. So have you watched any of the Sri Lanka India matches in general? You said you saw the Johnny Packer.
I think I've started to enjoy that more than any other cricket that's going on right now, apart from I did watch the Pakistan versus England match. That was very out of curiosity to see what Pakistan is doing.
Yeah.
Very excited for the World Cup. But yeah, I did watch actually all of the matches of India versus Sri Lanka. And Deepak Chahar, I think we found a new all-rounder.
Absolutely. But are you most excited the fact that India is playing Pakistan in the group matches in the World Cup?
I think everyone would be, all Indian cricket fans out there would be looking for this one match for the whole year. It would be, because they haven't played for more than 2 years. And last time was actually World Cup 2019, which was the ODI. So after that, this is one chance to see Pakistan and India playing. And it's always been a much awaited match.
Oh, it's
There's
exciting.
lot of damage happens. TVs are broken and all, as I've said. But jokes apart, there's certainly a lot of excitement out there. And talking about India versus Sri Lanka, um, India to win, and this second match was literally nail biting moment. Um, but Deepak Chahar and his confidence to manage to hit the right note, and he batted beautifully. I think he should start talking about his batting, because he turned India's defeat into victory. He literally snatched defeat from the jaws of defeat. You can say that. Amazing player. He even took 2 wickets and made 69 runs, which was at
Oh,
some point
phenomenal.
looked like that India has lost this match.
It was a bit of a worry actually, because
So,
Sri Lanka, you have to argue, batted pretty well, and especially their openers, they batted for quite a while actually.
yeah, they came back good, but there are certain things that no one wants to change for India in their winning streak. But what would be one change that you would say that
To Sri
put
Lanka?
India in better spot, and in one change in Sri Lanka?
Sorry, you
Each.
mean to the Sri Lankan team or the Indian team?
Yeah, Sri Lankan team first.
Well, they need to bring back Naroshan Dickwella, Kaushal Pereira, and also Kaushal. There's Mendes. Mendes, Pereira, and Naroshan Dickwella back into the squad, and Dimutha Karunaratne. They've got 4 players, with also potentially Angela Matthews also not playing. So Baramarani, 100's going to start now, is it? I'm telling you what, that is the least of my thoughts about watching at the moment. I've got little interest in watching that over the other games for sure. Keshav Haria's, hey Norman, hey Aparna, are you suggesting you want to join Keshav? Is that what you?
Hey.
Didn't I? No, I've sent you the link. If I haven't seen one. I thought I've sent it to everybody. Let me have a. I haven't done that. So the reality is that.
What about Kuntal?
I told you he's coming on later. You're going to have a long night.
Oh.
He's coming on at what time is it now?
Is he in Tokyo?
Huh? No, he's not in Tokyo. He's in India, but he's the leading sports reporter for ABP News for the Olympics.
I know.
But he's in India. Boria Majumdar, he's actually in Tokyo.
I think Boria is in Tokyo.
Boria's there, and also Debashis' boss Anil Lava is also there.
Well, I hope if they're listening to our broadcast, keep safe, and hope India backs some gold this year.
You got Devin. Yeah, oh my God! I can't. Says hi to you, Norman. Are you covering that? Am I covering the 100 tournament? Oh, I reckon it's kicking off tonight. Well, look, Chida, I'll probably talk about that later. Probably once it starts. It's very, very frustrating because the timing's outrageously bad. They're squeezing it in. The 100s. I'm more interested in the women's 100 than the men's 100. I think the men's 100 is undervalued. I mean, Glenn Maxwell's not playing. A whole heap of players not playing that because they've got the test series on. So a lot of them are not playing. You've got, I think Ben Stokes is contracted to play. Only a few of the matches. And you've got, who was it? You've got Shane Warne practically owns one of the teams. It's going to be a struggling first year for it. The women's more exciting because for the first time, the women's group have got girls playing in all the teams that play for the men have got a women's equivalent team, which is great. Like the men's, women's in the WBBL and BBL in Australia. India still lag with it, not all the IPL teams having a women's version of it. Can I explain the format rules? Okay. The 100 is exactly that. 100 deliveries, 20 overs, but 5 balls in an over. So as opposed to 6, which would make it 120, they've shaved off 20 balls and made it the 100, which is 20 overs still, but 5 balls per over. I believe they bowl from one end for 10 overs, and then they change to the other end for another 10, so that speeds it up. I believe bowlers can bowl more than one over in a row. So I don't know how many exactly. I think it must be around. They can bowl more than one over. They can bowl 2 overs in a row.
Continuously.
I believe so. I believe you can bowl 2 overs in a row. So you can bowl 2 overs one after the other, which means 10 deliveries. So some quirks like that. Field placements are a lot more restrictive, not unlike another T20 or 50 over routine. They're even more restricted because there's a little bit less time. It's all about speed, Aparna. That's what the main crux of it is, speed. So by bowling it from one end, having the same bowler bowl 2 overs in a row, having, that will save a lot of time. It'll speed the match up. The 100ers are fast. At the moment, it's a bit
they
like
will in sets of 5.
Sorry?
With 10 deliveries from the same end at a time.
Yeah, it's rather Rahul and Buri in Tokyo, as well as Anulava from Grey Mine, which is extra time. Okay, Ayan Malik Chabra. I'm going to talk a lot more on the next show. There's a show at 1 o'clock my time, which is another hour away, which will be a separate show, Aparna. So if you want to join that one, I'm going to give you another link. Okay? So you got a long night tonight.
Oh, yes,
It's a big one. So Aparna is Kesha's joining us.
Hey guys.
Hello. Get in the middle there. More. Okay. All right. I was just talking about a whole range of things, as you probably already heard. The fact is that the Brisbane, Queensland 2032 Olympics has been announced today, and the most thwarted excitement where they couldn't touch each other, they couldn't hug each other, which was stupid. It actually typifies the whole bid. They were the only people to bid. Even India, Indonesia, America, they all pulled out before they even reached the final stage. There was only really one bid, and that was Australia. That won it. And Brisbane's the third choice location in Australia. The Sydney Olympics was the best Olympics ever in any country. The Melbourne was our most romantic back in '56. But the 2032 Olympics will be good, but it won't be anywhere near as good. They haven't even got a ground that's big enough at this point. Building a completely new stadium, they're going to use the Gabba in a reformed format, which is quite upsetting for me. I'm a bit annoyed that we've got really the city that should have got the Olympics in 2032 should have been Sydney again. If they're going to pick the best place in Australia, it should be Sydney, because we've got the existing. Why have it in Brisbane? That's honestly got. I'm sorry to say, it's got nothing to see. It's got Mount
I think
Cooper,
COVID cases increasing and we are in lockdown, so they're just predicting that it should be. I don't know. Was it based on because Brisbane has that many cases since this whole pandemic?
Apart, it's 11 years away. It's 11 years away. It's too far away. No,
I think this is not going to end for 4 years. Could be anything. Why would they do it in Brisbane? I mean, Sydney is Sydney.
Yeah, I mean, Australia didn't get excited. They weren't jumping out of their skin when it was announced, I can assure you. Anyway, I don't know why India
it's a government-based decision.
Have India had an Olympics, Kesha?
Never. We had a Commonwealth Games in 2010, but never Olympics.
Well, they actually were one of the bids. They were one of the bids with Indonesia and America, but they didn't even get past the first stages. So Brisbane fell over the line. I'm embarrassed about it, actually. So, okay. So the 100 is kicking off tonight, but I'm very low-key about its start. It's a bit hard to get excited about a tournament that you haven't even witnessed yet in terms of knowing how teams will play. It's hard to say, oh, they'll do well, they won't do well, because you don't know, because the format's so weird.
Tonight, I think it's the women's 100, which is commencing, and tomorrow it's the men's.
Correct. And then I believe Shabnam Ismail told me, who you know, Aparna, is going to bowl the very first delivery in the tournament. If they win the toss, she's in the Oval, what's the name of her team? Oval something or other. Forgot the name of her team. Do you remember her? Do you know what the teams are? I'll look at them.
Quite fancy names to remember.
Oh, that's what I hate about it. You can't have names with everything.
There's a team called Manchester Originals, whatever that means.
God knows. Well, Shabnam Ismail's team, she's got this horrible green-looking outfit, which is a bit like South Africa's outfit, actually. Let me have a look. I'll find it. It's here. It's a green oval Invincibles, which is a play on the 1948 Ashes Invincibles. And that just annoys me because that's Test cricket history being muddled into a name. I don't like it. So Barami Irani saying, Norman, other than the Sydney Opera House and Harbour Bridge, Gold Coast, whole of Australia has nothing to see. Barami Irani, I'm gonna smack you one. If ever
that's
abuses,
so true.
Barami Irani, what has Singapore got? A stupid little line about this big that spits water out. It's got Marina Bay Sands, which looks like a cricket set of stumps. What are you talking about? Don't start me on that.
Hey, let's not get angry, but no, I think you should come and explore Australia. It's a country untouched, and a lot of people have a perception about Australia having nothing to say, which is absolutely wrong. And just to prove yourself, please come to Australia. I am saying from first-hand experience.
Now, so there's Barami Irani saying there's nothing between nothing. Are you talking about what's between your ears? Don't. He jokes with me, right? Munchie is not invincible, the team is. Okay. Right. Ahmedabad us Guardians in next IPL. Ahmedabad us Guardians? Maybe Ahmedabad's right, but us Guardians? What's this us Guardians? Is there something I don't get that?
Maybe it's a joke because he had added 3 emojis after that.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Okay. Stark picked up 5 wickets last match. Is he back in form? To be honest with you, I don't think the West Indies really cared. They weren't at their best in that match.
Actually, Hayden Walsh is quite impressive, picking up 5 as well.
Who?
Hayden Walsh Jr.
Yeah. Well, you know, Aparna and Keshav, Chris Vernon played with Hayden Walsh. Those for the West Indies. And I had 2 players in my team that have both played for Pakistan the last 2 matches. Both Harris Ralph and Usman Khadir both played in my Sydney side.
So did Hayden Walsh get Chris Vernon out?
Well, Ben's the boy's not here to talk about. Chris is probably listening, but he was pretty impressive back then, he reckons. Okay, Munchie, would you stop talking with Garabanka about vaccinations? Okay. Asgard is the planet where Thor hailed from. As a real, this is Satvi, Bagari, West Indies are a real threat for the T20. What do you all say? Totally agree.
I would agree. I would 100% agree.
Huge.
Even though West Indies was blown away in this chase between Australia and West Indies, but they are a real threat to, I think, India.
Absolutely. Now I'm going to have a program, Kesha.
More than Australia, of course.
What? What did you say?
More than Australia. I mean,
I've got no doubt. I've got no illusions about Australia doing well. And the T20 format, no way. I mean, I got rather annoyed when I saw the Australians celebrating their win in the ODI last night as if they were champions. I don't think the West Indies put their best team on the field. That first drop batsman I've never heard of before.
Yeah.
All the players that play the T20 format are not playing.
Yeah, but I think they're trying to.
But Stark and Hazelwood combined, and they fast bowling like that can't get better. So Australia has to give them for that.
And I think West Indies probably trying to build up a squad for the World Cup a couple of years later on. So maybe that's why they have decided to differentiate the ODI and T20 players. Darren Bravo, who was not a part of T20, is in the ODI squad. Jason Holder was also there. So, and this is something a lot of teams are anyway doing, differentiating all the 3 squads.
Well, you've seen what good old, what's his name? Jared Kimber talks about now, this 2-team concept, which is true. I must quickly say that that this is interesting. With the 2032 Olympics being in Australia, we might see cricket on. It's actually a good point. There's enough time to get cricket involved. That's the only plus of having the Olympics in Australia, I reckon. We may push for a cricket version of the whole thing. I am Sativ Bagari. I'm actually very excited about that India-Pakistan match. We're going to have a long show before that. We're going to be dissecting that big time. And I'll try and get Usman Kadir and good old Harris Ralph on sort of that. Our Indians go the same in their 11. You're talking about now the Test squad, or I think you'll find that India won't change their squad, don't you think, Kershaw? They're not going to. They might bring Siraj in, but that's about it.
I think he's talking about the ODI series, and I guess the only change that is possible is bringing in Navdeep Saini for one of Bhuvneshwar or Deepak Chahar now that India has won the series. Because you do need some sort of variety in the bowling. Right now, the bowling is a little too one-dimensional, especially with the fast bowlers. All three of them are in and around 130 Ks. So you need Navdeep to just bring that variety to the attack.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But not many changes.
Yeah.
So Munshi and
I would agree
they're
with
actually
that.
having some sort of Thor mythology discussions. I am Malik Shadi. I'm beginning to like what he says. Sanju Samson should come in. If you're going to include, you might as well bring him in as well. Give him a go.
It depends on his fitness as well. He was dropped, arrested in the first two games because he was not 100% fit. They
announced yesterday that he was fit now.
So if he's fit, I'm not sure for whom he'll come because, see, Ishan and Sky just made their debut. Manish Pandey was unlucky to get out yesterday. He's looking good. So you do need to give at least 3 games to these people to give a sort of a sense of continuity. Because it will be unfair to drop any of them right now, except for maybe a Shikhar Dhawan, but you can't drop him. He's the captain.
But wasn't it funny, as an aside, you had Avish Khan and Washington Sundar playing for the county select 11 versus the Indian team. That was a bit weird. I've been told, I think it was they were scrounging around trying to find players available for that county select team, which is very embarrassing.
Actually, two people in that team were tested positive for COVID. So that's how these two had to fill those slots.
Hang on a minute. England have got a whole country worth of players. Doesn't mean you're bringing 2 Indian players all of a sudden.
No, but these people were already in a bubble who were preparing for this game. And then you put from outside the bubble.
Yeah, but then they should have 2 other players sitting there waiting as spares anyway, shouldn't they, really?
And anyway, Avesh Khan didn't pick any wickets. Washington Sundar got out on duck today, so no harm done.
No, it's not about harm being done. It just looks bad. That's what I'm saying. I like this concept. Comment from Baram Marani said, "No, Munshi, are they from kindergarten?" And what he's talking to is also what the naming of the 100. The teams are rather bizarrely now. I don't know how they got them. And they got that major sponsorship of Lego as well.
Yesterday's game, did it remind you of this another ODI in Sri Lanka in 2017 where India was chasing and they were in a bit of an iffy situation and Bhuvneshwar Kumar got a 50 guided by MS Dhoni on the other end. So now 4 years later on, Bhuvneshwar is the senior pro this time and he guided Deepak Chahar. So you know how tables have turned.
But do you really think Bhuvi guided him?
I'm really sure about the fact that Bhuvi's presence at the other end was of real help for him, because if it was somebody else who's not a senior pro or who's not as experienced in these conditions, you might have seen Deepak Chahar throwing away his wicket.
Okay.
No, I would disagree with that. I'm sorry. I think it's Rahul Dravid because he has shown some confidence in his batting, and he said that as well, because of which it gave him to put himself in the right state of mind and the right confidence that is needed to actually turn the tables around and literally snatch the victory from
Yeah, but in a partnership like that, when you need 80 odd, when you need 80 odd, and you are there's nothing left after you guys, you have to have that sort of support from the other end as well. You can't do it all alone. So I'm sure the inputs from Bhuvi were invaluable in that partnership.
It's funny how
yeah, but it's more about Rahul Dravid and his coaching.
Rahul Dravid's going to be the next India coach. There's no doubt about that.
I wouldn't be surprised to see that, and I have full faith in Rahul Dravid, and I think he should be given that spot.
I am Malik Chaudhry. We've actually gone through the England squad, haven't we? Keshav, who do you think's out of the England squad? And Aparna, you also can comment.
Well, before you start, I'm going to take a leave, Norman.
What?
And I will join you in the next one.
All right. So the next link, I'll give you that, okay? What's starting at 1 o'clock, my time, our time. All right?
Okay.
All right. See you, Aparna. Don't
Thanks,
go
guys.
anywhere.
Thank you. Enjoy.
Aparna, make sure you come to the next one. Okay. All right. Now, we've got Kuntal Chakraborty's coming on at 1 o'clock my time, which is about, another 40-odd minutes away. And he's one of the head Olympic correspondents as well as cricket correspondents for ABP News, ABP Live, ABP Hindi. He and I, we're great friends. So
just give me a second. I'll put my air conditioner on.
Okay. All right. So what else we got here? Yeah, that's true. They were needing a cool head, but Shahad had put more than he got 69 runs. In fact, I was not happy with the way India batted together. Yeah, I agree with that. India looked a bit wobbly. Yeah, well, exactly. How are you all doing on lockdown? Well, in Sydney, Australia, we have had a regular, for the last week or two, we've had 100 cases a day. Big change, Kesha, wasn't it? For the last 6 months, we've had zero, and now we're getting 100 a day. So one person came in a chauffeur car, was a chauffeur driver, one person picked it up from a traveller, and bang.
You are wondering about 100 cases a day. I mean, I'm so stunned at how England is still having thousands in a day, and they have opened up all the things, and the 100 is starting, and there's a test series. There was a T20 series that just ended yesterday. Just the difference between how the two countries have handled the situation.
Okay, there's a big difference. Australia has only about 9% vaccination occurring, which is horrific, and have been lazy when they've had zero cases. They haven't bothered to vaccinate. Then you have England, who've got 80% plus now. Everybody over the age of 18 has been offered a needle. Okay, so that's 80% plus apparently they've done it. So that's why they can afford to do it. If we had 80%, or I think it's over 88%, you are then saturated and you don't have to go out and be masked. So that's the difference. England, you would argue, even though it's got 45,000 a day still, they got less people being infirmed and dying, as we are certainly now got many people going in out of a small number of 100. Yeah. Why are you surprised when we have the Muppets running the country we have? Well, yeah, but you guys are you're a bit better equipped, because if it's, Kesh, you would agree with this. If you've got 80 to 90% vaccination, that's more than the flu would ever be. And we live on the streets of a country when there's the flu. Some of us get it, some of us don't. The majority recover. A very small percentage die because of other illnesses. That's what we're going to get to. We're going to get to a flu-like situation where you and I will get the flu. You and I will get COVID. It won't have the stigma, because you know you're not going to die. And you've got to stay away from people who are elderly that could die, that maybe haven't been vaccinated. That's what's going to be. So I'm not staggered that there's 45,000 cases, because you know what? I'm sure during the times of the flu, we have the same numbers. I think Australia had 11,000 deaths, I think it was, of the flu a couple of years back. We haven't had 11,000 deaths from COVID, that's for sure.
How you made videos in Australia going around the streets talking about Indian cricket. I would have been interested in knowing people's reaction on Australia losing 4-1 to West Indies.
I should do that, shouldn't I? But at the moment, I really can't because did you see that I interviewed somebody who was related to a very famous cricketer? Did you see that one?
Which one?
A young man called Bass Miller happened to be the great nephew, or his great uncle was Keith Miller.
Okay.
Like he just walked past me on the street. I had no idea who he was. That's pretty amazing. I've got a video dedicated to that.
But how was the response in Australia of the recent T20 series? I mean, are people taking it seriously?
Well, they got a bit excited about the fact that we won today, but then it was quickly squashed in the press because it was an ODI that means nothing. And clearly that was not the best West Indian side that played that on that day. Even they lost a player in the morning. They looked shy of hope in the morning, didn't they? They lost one of their better batters. And you would argue the West Indies took the foot off the pedal after winning the other series. To be honest with you, they did. They just won 4-1. They would have celebrated. Trust me, they would have celebrated. With Chris Gale in the squad, they would have celebrated hard. And they would have been probably a little bit hungover. And they didn't. I think they'll come back in the second and third matches for sure. But the first one, they were clearly not there.
I mean, even if they lost this series, it's a T20 World Cup year, so
exactly. So Arani wants me to make a video on the reaction to the West Indies series. I will do that. But
I think people in Australia might not have taken it seriously because a lot of main players was missing. So they would be making these excuses that if we had Warner, Smith, Cummins, Maxwell, Stoinis, all these guys, we might have ended up winning.
Yeah, Maxwell, Stoinis, and Warner, because it looks like Smith's not going to return. I don't think, honestly, I think the West Indies would have still won. Because I don't think the West Indies really put their foot to the pedal either. Really. They were not 100% in their matches, even though they won 4-1. I think the West Indies are, my God, Pollard didn't play for the entire series as well, don't forget.
Yeah.
And he's enormous.
He got a 50 last night, isn't it?
Yeah, and he has this intent to win this World Cup. And Dwayne Bravo as well. Obviously Chris Gale, even though they're all knocking Chris Gale, he smashed Hazelwood for 19 off 1 over.
So you reckon Pakistan now visiting West Indies, they'll lose the T20 series 5-match?
Sorry, the West Indies versus Pakistan they played now.
Yeah, so the next opponent is Pakistan playing a 5-match series now, who just lost in England both the series. So do you think they'll have...
Where is it being played in the West Indies?
Yeah.
Oh, the West Indies will win because it's at their home venues. But then Pakistan in the UAE, I tell you what, that's where people are forgetting that's Pakistan's home ground.
No, so, you're talking about World T20, right?
Yeah.
I'm talking about just the series that's going to happen between West Indies.
West Indies will probably win because it's on their territory.
But the same West Indies also lost to a very weak South African team as well.
Which they didn't care about. The West Indies put the foot on the throttle when they need to. Okay? They wanted to make it. They knew that Australia were a team they had to give a nice old slacking to, and they did it.
But I just feel that, just like West Indies, Pakistan is also a bit of an unpredictable team. I mean, when they put their foot on the pedal, like in the first T20 against England, they ended up scoring 232, and they won the game by 30-odd runs. So two very volatile teams meeting together. I think that series is going to be more interesting than Australia and South Africa playing against West Indies.
Well, you may well be right, but when it comes to the T20 World Cup, Pakistan will not play the West Indies until potentially, in fact, they won't play each other until potentially only the final, because West Indies will probably come second in their pool. Pakistan will probably come second in their pool. So when it crosses over, they won't play each other.
But you made the point of Pakistan having played in UAE for 10 years, so they'll have some sort of advantage knowing the conditions. But people also often forget that the success that Pakistan got in UAE was more or less in test matches. When it comes to white ball, they lost to Australia, they lost to New Zealand, they lost to England. The good top teams, they lost the white ball series in UAE. Even to India, they lost in Asia Cup twice. So playing against big teams in UAE, I don't think Pakistan will anyway have an upper end. If this was test matches, then yes. But white ball, I'm not sure.
I don't agree with you at all. I don't agree with you at all. I think that the Pakistan have done very well in the short version. They've won a number of tournaments.
I can give you the stats. If you remember, just before 2019 World Cup, Australia had gone there to play 5 ODIs. They lost 5-0. Pakistan lost 5-0 in UAE to Australia. They lost to England 4-1. They lost.
Hang on. Their World Cup experiences of late, Pakistan, or even the championship trophy stuff, they've won one where they absolutely clobbered everybody. They won that tournament. When was that? That wasn't that long ago.
Which one?
Where Pakistan won I think the champions trophy.
Yeah, 2017 against India, the final.
Yeah, they come out of the woodwork there. That's the sort of thing that I'm looking for.
I am with you on that. But your point was Pakistan in UAE will be dangerous because they've played so much there.
Because of the T20 tournament, not necessarily only the wicket, but that'll still play in their favour.
I know, but so maybe India, like they played the last IPL completely in UAE. Now the second half will be again played in UAE. In 2018, again they went to UAE for Asia Cup. They defeated Pakistan twice in that. So I think that way, and don't forget, a lot of England, West Indies, Australian players have played in PSL and IPL in the UAE. So I don't think Pakistan will have that kind of an edge now. Maybe if we were playing a couple of years ago in the UAE, then yes, but not now. Pakistan has also stopped playing there for 2 years now.
Yeah, I'm not totally sold. I don't know whether.
Norman, just pick up the results that Pakistan had in UAE in white ball against top teams. I'm not counting Sri Lanka. I'm not counting teams like Bangladesh or Zimbabwe that they would have won against. But when the top teams toured there for white ball, they lost to those teams.
Yeah. Okay. Look, let's just take the UAE out of for a moment, out of the discussion, and go back to the fact that Pakistan will probably make the final 4 in the World T20 World Cup. New Zealand, despite having just done well in the World Test Championship, may not quite have it unless Devon Conway plays out of his skin. I think Pakistan might have that edge. And the way that group is apart, which is India, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Bangladesh, likely Bangladesh, or Sri Lanka, and also New Zealand, you would have to think that India's through and Pakistan will defeat New Zealand.
I am not sure about that.
Okay, well, that's my prediction. It's my prediction.
I know, but see, it's the Asian conditions, right? So that's why probably you are a little skeptical about New Zealand. But the 2016 T20 World Cup was in India, where New Zealand actually topped the group, and India was a part of that group. They defeated India in the first game, and they ended up going to semi-finals. Pakistan was not there in the semi-finals. So
Okay.
It's the same.
Okay, look, it's going to be India, Pakistan, or New Zealand. That group's going to be those.
I am counting out Pakistan right away.
Okay. The other group will be definitely England and my opinion, West Indies. Australia and South Africa are just not going to. They're horrific at World Cups, by the way, anyway, and they just have not got the batting lineup. They might have good bowlers, but the batting lineup's just not good enough. The Australian team is all over the shop, and they're going to try and throw Stark, Hazelwood, and Cummins into the fray. You watch, and they're going to make a big mistake because even though Mitchell Stark did okay the last few weeks, he will not do well on UAE pitches. I'll tell you that now. And Hazelwood will be smashed. Why? Why would Hazelwood bowls a metronome delivery, which has the same length and height, and batsmen now have worked him out and are taking 3 steps to the wicket and smash him. It was very evident they can pick his length, and he can't. And he's only played 10 T20 internationals, very low amount of games.
Do you think South Africa will be able to at least beat Australia in the group games?
Very likely. Look, you want to hear the Australian press. We're saying Australia might be lucky to win a game or two. They're actually not even giving them a chance. There's no talk of them winning the World Cup. There's barely any talk of them making the semi-finals. We are talking in terms of, you would talk about, say, a Bangladesh. I'm not joking. I heard a female reporter the other day say, well, Australia might be lucky to beat South Africa. What sort of comment is that? Because England will smash us, and so will West Indies.
Is that because they still think people like Steve Smith or Labuschagne might not be involved in that tournament?
Well, Smith and Labuschagne wouldn't make the team, to be honest.
Why?
Well, Labuschagne, people have got such a high opinion. Labuschagne's ability.
He's been in prolific form in a blast in England.
Yeah.
About 100.
It's a bit like saying Nathan Lyon should play. They're both not going to be selected. Warner's going to be the one that'll come back. And they've got such a mess with. They've got too many all-rounders that are not even sure what they're doing. They've got players who.
If you had to make an 11 for Australia for World Cup right now, knowing that everyone is available, what would your 11 be?
If I'm talking about the absolute best team on the park, first and foremost, I would have Aaron Finch as captain. Okay, because he is the most capable captain in this format. It's well and truly. He has the room. He has the confidence in the room. Whereas Smith and Warner do not have the confidence for anyone. Okay, Alex Carey's not quite there yet. So I would have Aaron Finch with Warner. When they're both paired together, that's a good opening pair. I would have had Steve Smith first drop. Mitch Marsh, even though he's played okay in this recent series, is not. You watch. If he plays first drop for the World Cup, he'll get out with poor scores because he's not able to sustain that level for long.
But he had to play first drop in West Indies because they didn't have their first choice players.
That's right, and he did okay. But look, I would have Smith at first drop. I would have Mozon Reeks because I think he's got the goods. He hasn't shown it yet, but I would have him in there. I would have Glenn Maxwell. I would have Marcus Stoinis. Okay, it looks as though Alex Carey would be the guy would be there, or Josh Phillip.
I think Matthew Wade might be keeping in the World Cup.
Oh, no hope in hell.
He did well in the West Indies.
He's the number one player I would not have in the side.
Why so?
Oh, there's a raft of reasons. He actually stirs other team up to actually do better. He doesn't motivate. He's quite annoying. His batting is poor and very inconsistent, and his keeping's not that good either. He's actually been dropped from the Test side for his poor performance, and he should be now on the outer. Josh Philippe is better than him. Matthew Wade seems to still have this Victorian demarcation line where he gets in, and Alex Carey's been. They're confusing in the T20 matches. They confusingly use Philippe, Carey, and Wade. It was disgraceful. They were all wrongly selected. So you pick one of those three and have one as a backup, and Wade's gone. The bowling attack, Berendorf, to me, should be in the side. I would have Pat Cummins. I wouldn't have Josh Hazelwood. Stark, I'm not sure. It's a hard one because even though he's very up and down, and he can be rather predictable. But yeah, you probably have him in there, and Adam Zampa's certainly the leading spinner.
But who would be your second spinner? Because it's in UAE, you need a second one, right?
Well,
Don't
they
say
haven't got anyone. Swepson's hopeless. They haven't got anyone.
So Maxwell will.
Maxwell.
What about like a out of the box selection? Darcy Short, he can bowl some Chinaman.
Yeah, but that means well, he's the like for Warner. So either Darcy Short or Warner is in the side because of the batting positioning of Short being a left-hander, being of Warner style. He only gets in if that's the case. So no, he's not going to be in there.
But I think
Jason Sangha, Munchie, I like the fact you brought him up. Jason Sangha would be more appropriate for Test cricket. Probably not the short form, but Test cricket's where I have 2.5 years. Jason Sangha will be hopefully in the side, and then we'll captain the Test side. No, Finch is the captain. Full stop. He's almost designated as captain. Maxwell won't captain.
I think Finch might continue till next year because the next T20 World Cup is at home for Australia.
He is a better player than he'll give him credit for. That's what I'm sure. So
he'll anyway do better in Australia and those pitches next year.
Absolutely. Jason Sangha's a bit early for him, but he's certainly in the mix. Let's not try to annoy Norman, but Sir Patrick Vallance did correct himself on the stat. I'm not even sure what that's about.
Talking about spinners, we probably forgot Ashton Agar.
Yeah, he's okay.
He can bat
probably in the 50 over format, not the T20 format.
Because see, in UAE it's a World Cup, and on those pitches, if you go with just one full-time spinner, then I think alarm bells for Australia.
Well, they're going to put Swepson as a backup, but he's just not bowling well enough. Adam Zapp will definitely be there, but you may see Maxwell take on that role.
I think they'll play Agar. I think they'll play Agar and Zapp both in that 11.
Agar's more of a 50 over player.
He didn't play in the T20 series?
He was in the squad, yeah. But he's only a stock spinner. He doesn't do much with the ball.
Yeah, so he's kind of...
Had his Usman Khadir not gone back to Pakistan, now played for Pakistan, he probably would have played for Australia because he was playing for the Perth Scorchers, who was in the Australia A squads. He was heading for that position, to be honest. Australia's lacking, and I was lacking. But I mean, really, Nathan Lyon's still around, but he won't be picked.
But, I think Australia can still make use of Ashton Agar in T20, something like Pakistan is doing with Imad Wasim. He's not a great turner of the ball, but he has gives that control and can bat down the order. Good fielder. Ashton Agar.
Agar's just not that good. I'm sorry.
And if you remember last year against South Africa, he took a 6-for in T20.
Yeah, I'm not saying he hasn't performed well in part, but he's just not there. He was, first of all, earmarked to play Test cricket, which he did do, and scored 99 on Naboo and looked great. I was actually at that match. It was in England, so I met his parents, who were both Sri Lanka. Well, they're Sri Lanka. Look.
What about his brother who made his debut last night?
Oh, he's steady. I wonder if they had influence over the selection because he was his brother. I don't know. I don't think he's that good. He's steady.
Done well in BBL?
Oh, okay. I wouldn't have got too excited about him, to be honest.
But I think he's still a better prospect than.
Well, that wasn't the BBL. It was an ODI match that he played. The BBL's not ODI.
Yeah, I know, but certainly they would have seen the performances there. But I feel he's still better than Riley Meredith. Meredith, I see, is overrated.
Now, Munchie, Zampa is a leg spinner.
Yeah, but he's saying you need to have an off spin. So for off spin, Maxwell can always roll his arm.
No, it's going to be Maxwell and Zampa with maybe Swepson floating around, maybe Agar, but it's going to be Zampa all the way through. He took all his hair off. Did you see he had a completely bald head last night?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he had a full head of hair and he shaved it all off, which is bizarre. There's a few players that are doing that now, not just cricket, but rugby league. It's become a fashionable thing. They challenge each other on the balcony and they shave all their hair off. I think it's something to do with some. I think it's charity related. I think because a few players have got.
I think Ashton Agar is also gone bald, isn't it?
Yeah, he's done it as well. Now I'm going to make sure that our friend. Yeah. All right. Let's have a look here. So what are you doing with your programs? Are you
I did a post match last night with a couple of friends. I had no plans whatsoever to do it, but since the win was so good yesterday, it felt like talking about it, and I just impromptu. I just asked a couple of friends if they could join. They did, and we talked about it, and I got like 300, 400 views, which I'm happy about. I'm not getting too greedy here.
But the fact is that yesterday's pre-show spiked for me. It seemed to be pretty popular. At a certain stage,
if people who are watching right now, if they can go to my channel and also subscribe to me, it will be nice.
We haven't got a huge number at the moment. We've gone a bit quiet. But there's another show about to take off at 1 o'clock as well. So maybe they're going to come back for that. So what's this gaming with Hardy? How do Sweppo and Hotskulu do in the Shield one day? Sweps on that, but who the other person is, I'm not sure who that is. Hamid is now 59 off 156 balls. That is Pujara like batting. Well, that's needed. There's nothing wrong with having a player like that for England.
He's been selected in the England squad.
And his channel is the same as his. Now, where's your name? Why is it on the body? That's the casual career.
Yeah, just type my name. You'll find my channel.
All right. So, yeah. Otherwise, it's pretty much the way it is. All right. I might have a bit of a break between the shows myself. So, so the England squad's been announced. England, Pakistan have a match to go. They've got a match to go, haven't they? One match to go.
No, it's done.
Okay, fine. So it's only the Australia, West Indies 2 matches to go, or was it 1?
Two ODIs left.
2 more to go, and that's there. And of course, India and Sri Lanka still has a way to go, and the county matches a few days to go. But we've got the India Sri Lanka series is pretty interesting because the Sri Lanka batters have done okay, but their bowlers are pretty ordinary. Let's be honest.
And it was the reverse in England. The bowlers were doing good there, and batsmen were failing.
True. AP Gunners just in South Africa. South Africa, who was South Africa playing?
Ireland.
Yeah, that's. Oh, I shouldn't discount that because that is something that's growing in stature for sure. Yeah, the Oval Invincibles. That's the women's game. That's coming up.
And Pakistan is traveling to West Indies for 5 T20s and 2 Test matches.
And Australia playing Bangladesh as well.
Yeah, and then Pakistan is playing Afghanistan in UAE after that, and then they are playing New Zealand and England at home in Pakistan. So a lot of cricket for them as well.
So New Zealand and England are playing Pakistan at home.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's in September, October.
So with the girls, let's have the girls one. What is it called again? It's called the Oval Invincibles versus the Manchester Originals. That's just a crazy name.
It's Roy versus Butler tomorrow.
So Oval Invincibles have Shabnim Ismail, who I know very well, Marizan Kapp and Dane Van Niekerk from South Africa. The rest of the players
Gary Kirsten was cribbing about the fact that suddenly Bairstow has been called to Test squad and now he has to find a new captain for his 100 team.
Was that done deliberately? You have to wonder. Then the Manchester team have got Mignon Dupreez, who's obviously Harmanpreet Kaur, Sophie Eccleston. They really haven't got too many lethal leaders. There's not a lot of international players in there, to be honest.
A lot of Australian coaches in the 100.
But there's a lot of Australian women's players that didn't come.
No, I mean,
Alyssa Healy and Rachel Haynes both didn't go. They're predominantly South African girls and some Indian girls. Harmanpreet Kaur's there.
Yeah, even for men's 100 tournament, I think a lot of Australians have backed out as well. Warner, Maxwell, they've backed out.
Well, let's be honest. It's just too much. How can you dedicate time to the 100 when you've got World Cup around the corner and even IPL around the corner?
You can't really blame anyone because this was supposed to be last year. Because of pandemic, they had to.
This would have been his second season, actually.
Yeah.
Not his first. So this was the time they were meant to have it. But yeah, anyway.
But
what's this? I'm not sure what's going on here.
He thinks I look like Pat Cummins, so I'm the Indian version of it.
I'm finding that a real stretch. I've got absolutely no idea where that's come from. He doesn't. Keshwal, how tall are you?
I'm 5'9".
Well, Pat Cummins is around 6'4" or 5". So
but he's talking about the face.
Absolutely, not even slightly.
I agree with you. I also don't consider.
Well, let's move off that topic then. All right, we might just call it quits there because I've got to head off, guys. Okay, everyone online, there's going to be a new program. There's a new link. So go to my page. You'll see another live show starting in only 15 minutes with Kuntal Chakraborty. We're talking about Olympics as well as Kesh, if you want to join that, come a bit later. Let's see how busy you are.
I'm not sure about Olympics. I haven't got a lot of information or knowledge about that. If you were talking about cricket, I would have loved to.
No, we're talking about cricket too. Guys, do you reckon the Champions League should be reinstated? No. Champions League is rubbish.
There's no window anyway.
Where are we going to fit the Champions League, for God's sake? on Boxing Day or Christmas Day or what? I don't know when.
Nobody even remembers Champions League. When was it played last?
Oh, I can't even remember. I never was really a big fan of it, to be honest. I don't see how it's an ICC ordained championship, isn't it?
Yeah, so I think they were not having good numbers from television, the ratings, so that's why they discarded it. But good to see.
It didn't have a meaning, though. That was more my issue. It just didn't have a meaning.
No, it did have a meaning. I mean, just like in football, you have a Champions League where different
This is cricket. This is cricket. It's not football.
I mean, the concept was good. It was interesting, and we got to see. I think in 2013 edition, we got to see the winners from Pakistan and winners from India play each other. If you remember, so it's interesting.
No, but Muncie's right. It was a pointless trophy. I'm sorry, it was pointless.
No, people are actually confusing between Champions Trophy and Champions League. Champions Trophy is ICC international tournament, which Pakistan won in 2017, and it's back.
But it meant nothing. It was not a T20 50-over format, test format World Cup. So it didn't have any meaning.
No. The point is, somebody asked for Champions League. It's a different thing. Champions Trophy is a different thing. Which one are you referring to?
Me?
Yeah.
Look, I'm getting confused just talking about this because it meant nothing to me. I never took it seriously. I was token sport.
Champions Trophy is the one which is ICC international tournament of top 8.
That's the one I'm talking about. That's what I'm referring to.
Okay, Champions League is different. It was a T20 tournament. Winners from IPL, winners from BBL, they would play against each other.
I get that. I still think that's not meaningless. And the other, both were meaningless.
So anything starting with champions is meaningless.
Well, yeah, they play it in other sports too, where two champions are winning their own championship play. That's novelty value. It's not really. It's novelty value. Let's be honest.
By the way, Champions Trophy is back in 2025.
2025. That's so long away, I don't even think about it. So it was the Olympics. All right. We might call it quits there, guys. So look, there's another link. If you look to my channel now, you'll see another link starting at what is that, 8:30 Indian time.
Okay. 11 minutes from now.
11, 12 minutes from now. We'll go there, okay? So Gaming with Hardik, I am Malik Chaudhary. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so. If you're watching without subscribing, that's not a good thing.
So
Okay.
once you start that broadcast, and by the time you're done with talking about Olympics, then probably I'll join for cricket later on.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. And that's depending on whether good old Kuntal's available, because he's in the middle of the Olympics, which is, you can imagine how little time he's got to talk about anything else though. Okay, Munchie, join with that later. It's on the next. Everyone, there's another link there. It's called Live and Exclusive Cricket and Olympic Special with Kuntal Chakraborty. That's happening at 1 a.m. my time. We'll go to that, okay? So, doctored to the last 5 days. So, no, let's not talk about doctored wickets, guys. That's another topic altogether. Nothing's been doctored. I'm pretty sure. I'm almost certain that's never going to be an issue again, because the ICC sanctioned tournaments, they don't doctor it. They can't afford to. It's just, it'll be the worst possible publicity they ever have. All right, so we'll let it go, guys. All right, Keshav, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Guys, Aparna will be on that too. So see you in 10 minutes on the other platform. Ciao.